Oh, hi there! Welcome to another episode of the Okanagan Gardener and Forager channel. If it looks like I'm cowering in these bushes, well, that's because I am. I'm surrounded by rose bushes and the plant I'm here to talk to you about today, hawthorn, black hawthorn. And they have some vicious thorns on them, which are pretty dangerous. And also, they have edible berries. But nowadays, not many people really eat hawthorn berries because there's much fancier, more tasty berries available. However, hawthorn berries and the rest of the plant still have medicinal uses. And so I'm going to tell you about some of those today. Black hawthorn, the scientific name is Crataegus douglasii. One of the first things that I look for when I'm trying to confirm that it is a black hawthorn is the leaves, which are pretty thick and leathery looking, shiny, and dark green on the top but paler on the bottom. And they're about 3 to 6 centimeters long and kind of oval shaped, but they have these lobes, 5 to 9 lobes near the end, so like they're oval shaped but kind of get broader on the top half. And if you can see, hopefully, like the lobes, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one has like 7 lobes on it. So 5 to 9 lobes. And then the fruit they're called hawthorn haws, and they look quite a bit like berries, or it's not like berries, like apples. They are like basically like apples. Next thing that I look for, of course, on a hawthorn is the thorns. And maybe you wouldn't see them at first, but once you start looking more closely, they become pretty apparent. And they are usually 1 or 2 centimeters long. The wasp thinks hawthorns are good. Usually 1 or 2 centimeters long, but they can be up to 3 centimeters long. And they are quite sharp, and yeah, they're rough. The next, one of the other things to look for is the bark is gray and rough. I'll show you some closer up. Oh, ow, ow. Pretty rough looking bark. And I'll show you a little more. I'm going to compare. I'll find some Saskatoon leaves nearby to show you a comparison, show you a little more about what I mean when I'm describing them. So what I've got here are, on the top row, those are all black hawthorn leaves. The bottom row are Saskatoon berry leaves. And I'm putting these two side by side because there's a couple points to contrast. One is these leaves, I hope you can see, compared to a Saskatoon berry leaf, are pretty thick and leathery looking, like they just look thicker and tougher, I think. And whereas the Saskatoon berry leaf is pretty delicate and thin looking. And the other thing, they're all, you could describe them all as oval shaped. That's like the general shape. And they are toothed, so the toothed edges on both of them. But the lobes are what also really distinguishes them, I think. So the Saskatoon berry leaf is kind of the same shape all the way around, whereas then you look at this one and you can see like there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lobes. That's what I mean by lobes. Whereas this one, it's kind of it's a general throughout the edge of the leaf, even though it's bumpy, it doesn't have any like projections. And the leaves are all sort of different, so like you can still see the lobes on these ones, but I thought this leaf was really clear. You got to look at multiple leaves often to get the shape. Hawthorn leaves, Saskatoon berry leaves. Hawthorn berries, or hawthorn haws, more correctly described, I suppose. They're black, they're purplish black in color, and yes, they are edible. And although they don't get eaten very much, because, well, they don't have much flavor at all, like in big seeds. They're pretty mealy kind of tasting. They do taste fine, like they're pleasant. But pretty seedy. Some indigenous groups did eat them, or like most in the area did eat them, but they weren't like prized. They weren't like a Saskatoon berry. They weren't really highly sought after, but they were added to things like pemmican. And also hawthorn berries are rich in pectin, so they could be used to add to jams and jellies. Hawthorns have medicinal uses, and probably most famously is related to heart health. Now, there are some studies that have shown that hawthorn extract can be effective in the use of treatment. Hawthorn extract being used in treatment of things related to heart health, such as high blood pressure, angina pectoris, which is recurrent pain in the chest and left arm, and arteriosclerosis, which is a loss of elasticity and thickening of artery walls. Also, hawthorn is said to... I'm stuck on hawthorn. Thorn! Hawthorn is said to dilate arteries and act as a mild heart stimulant, and so that can help to slow heart rate and reduce blood pressure. Some other medicinal uses for hawthorn are it's been used in the treatment of kidney disease, and the dark colored haws have been used to make a tea to help strengthen connective tissue which has been damaged by inflammation, and that's said to be due to the high flavonoid content of the berries. Now, something that I think is interesting, and it's my opinion a little bit here, but sometimes we talk about things like our heart. It's interesting, I think, the way we use certain expressions like a broken heart or something happens that hurts your heart. And I think other times we might think that there's no connection between our physical heart and then what we might think of as spiritually and emotionally as our heart. But maybe there's a connection. Anyway, related to that, hawthorns have been used in the treatment of like spiritual and emotional conditions like anxiety and insomnia, and it's also been used, people have used it for treatment of other emotional issues like traumas, so like to help people get through traumatic events like death or heartbreak. Now, I'll offer a bit of a warning about hawthorns. The thorns are like pretty serious and they could cause blindness if you get scratched in the eye with them, and maybe eating too many of the berries could cause issues like nausea or vomiting or diarrhea, so take it easy. And also, like these hawthorns are used with heart things, and they can affect things like blood pressure and heart rate and stuff like that. So like I'm not a doctor, and this is not medicinal, this is not medical advice. So like if you've got heart problems, please don't, heart problems or not, please don't start some sort of heart medication program just based on what I've said here. Talk to a medical professional and all that. There's some of the bark close up again. There are some other uses for hawthorns. The wood is like really strong, very hard, so it's been used to make things like handles for tools and weapons. And also the thorns have been used like indigenous groups, and others I suppose could use them, but indigenous groups have used them for make the thorns for like probing. I'm getting thorned again, speaking of the thorns, probing like blisters and things like that, and also for piercing ears and for using to make fish hooks. And you can find black hawthorns in lowland to montane zones in Canada, from BC to Ontario, and they like to grow in places like, they grow in thickets, so like if you find one, there's a good chance you're going to find more. And you can find them in roadsides, stream sides, and thickets, forest edges, things like that. Before I go, I kind of want to show you this shirt. And if you can tell if you know what the joke is, put it in the comment. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.